And we are live.
Hello, and welcome to the One More Podcast, Finest KO's podcast about Persona 4 Arena and all things related to it. I am Vibrating Sheep.
I'm Bro.
And I'm now changing to another character.
Oh, that's so sad. We're going to talk about that later today. But first of all, we're going to go through our usual spiel of talking about the events that have happened and what's going to come up in Persona 4 Arena. So, Bro, could you tell us a lot more about NorCal Dogfight and what happened there?
Yeah, Dogfight was a great success. We ran our first Danisen there. If you don't know what a Danisen is, it's a ranking system. Basically, will create a hierarchy of the players in your region based on successful wins and losses in a long series of casuals throughout the night. Koopa, do you have the link to the thread that's talking about that?
Let's see.
I have it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, you got it. Great. So I think at the top of the list was myself and 2GB. We both reached rank 4. And after that, the results are actually pretty surprising, so I would check it out. There are a lot of new faces who made it really powerful showings that day. And the team tournament was a bit more expected. 2GB won it with his teammate Orion X Elite. After that was Tenkai and Manabe.
Mm-hmm.
And just after that was myself and Mike Muscles Murphy. That's pretty much all there was to the dogfight. It was a great event. It went pretty much the entire day. Tons of Persona casuals. And the Danisen itself was free. I believe that will continue to be the case after you purchase a wristband, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely show up next time if you guys can.
Okay, so a quick question is, why go to a Danisen event instead of going to a tournament? What's the advantages?
Okay. Well, one immediate advantage for tournament players is these rankings can be used to seed future tournaments in a very concrete, very, very rigid, structured way that doesn't leave any guesswork at all. You basically just go down the list, and that's your seeding. Other than that, it will automatically segregate you into players of your own skill level and also give you a way to show improvement. Okay. So if you are like a quote-unquote rank 2 player, you'll notice when you go up to rank 3 because it's literally mathematically told to you that you have just advanced to rank 3. It gives you a very honest showing of what your results are without having to worry about, man, I just went 0-2 again. I'm so mad. I don't have another chance to make this back. You get a lot more matches than any normal tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to follow that up because it's actually great for people who are casual players because it's essentially just casuals that have a consequence. It's slightly different in terms of feel, definitely, but in terms of how much you get to play as much as you want. And so that's really valuable for people who don't think that they can, come out to a tournament. There's that mindset where it's like, I don't know if I should come out to this tournament and, throw away, 15 whatever dollars. And so, that's not a mindset that we encourage, but that's a mindset we can bring out to Danisens.
Actually, another topic, now moving a little bit forward, I would talk about how Persona 4 Arena is now moving to the runback. So, Dom, can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so today Alex Valle announced that in the next season of the runback, until Tekken Tag 2 comes out, then Persona 4 will be on Wednesday night fights, but as soon as Tekken Tag 2 comes out, they're moving it to the runback, their Thursday night programming, and they're putting it up with KOF and Marvel. And actually, the KOF players are loving it just as much as the Marvel players are loving it. Reynold and the Ants are just like, wow, I get to play Persona now. This is awesome.
So they can play multiple games at once on one night.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not sure if this is just like a rumor. Actually, hang on. I'm not sure if this is like fake or anything, but I got tweeted that Bala is now playing Persona 4 Arena.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm serious.
I believe so, yeah.
I think it's really hype, and I hope he plays a grappler.
Pick Clark.
Pick Clark!
Yeah, let's get Bala on Kanji. Yeah, that'll be great.
No, it'll be the grand finals. He'll be up against Korea in Persona 4 Arena.
And then
people will be in the crowd chanting, Kanji! Kanji! Kanji!
And then Korea will pick Mitsuru and it'll be all over.
Right.
Yeah. It's okay.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, Bala. Anyway, like Dom said, the decisions for that, I'm pretty sure, was because that the Marvel crowd and the KOF crowd both happen to be players for Persona 4 Arena as well. Besides, like, Renal and The Answer and possibly Bala, we also have Richard Nguyen, Combo Fiend playing as well. Do you remember any other Marvel players that happen to be playing? Chris G.
Chris Jitters.
I can't forget his face.
Marlon Pie, definitely.
Yeah, Marlon Pie. He's playing Chie, I believe. And why is Chris G playing Elizabeth? Does anyone know?
I think he just likes playing obnoxious zoning characters. They put that plasma on the screen. I mean, that's what Elizabeth does.
Well,
true.
Then again, I don't know. He just plays what he likes. Remember Sakura in Street Fighter 4? She's not a zoner by any stretch of the imagination.
That's fair. Are there more Street Fighter players playing than just Valle?
Let me think.
Valle, of course, subscribing to the School of Rush That Shit Down with Akihiko.
Yeah, no kidding. Punch that face and be very proud of it.
Yeah.
I want to say this might not last for too long, but PR Balrog, he was playing a little bit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's expressed interest. Shady K as well.
Oh, there we go. So those are Street Fighter players as well as Marvel's players.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crossover interest. It's a solidly put together game that doesn't do anything too super weird. There's no, curse meter, for example.
What are you saying? What are you saying about that character? He's very fair in Moe.
Of course.
Anyway.
Okay. Let's move on to our next topic. How about that?
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
So yeah, the thing is that we've been talking about what characters people have picked, and that's a topic that a lot of people, don't really know how to approach the right way, which is picking the right character for your style, and why you shouldn't just, pick top tiers for their matchups.
Yes.
Because last week, actually, Dacidbro mentioned that if you go into a tournament with a 3-7 matchup, then it's just... It puts you at a disadvantage from the very beginning of the tournament. You have to work way harder than other people. And so it's one of those things where people ask themselves, well, why is it that I'm playing this character when they have a 3-7 matchup against a popular character? Things like that. And the answer, I'm going to put that to you guys.
Okay, Dacidbro, you go first and reiterate what you said last time.
Okay. Well, you probably know that I picked Akihiko, despite knowing that he's not a top-tier character. I do intend to win tournaments, and I already have done so. And the reason is because Akihiko is a very rushdown-oriented character. He's probably the most read-based character I've ever played in any fighting game, and I really like that. I love to make reads based on my opponent, and he's probably one of the only one I've ever played that continues to make reads even on rushdown. Like, usually rushdown can kind of autopilot a 50-50 or maybe, like, autopilot a setup that leads to, like, multiple 50-50s. But most offensive characters are not really making reads once they're already in. But Akihiko continues to do so. He tries to snipe specific defensive patterns, and I really, really like that. So I think Akihiko makes a ton of sense for me as a character. Even if he's not the best character in the game, I have no doubts that he fits my playstyle better than Aegis or Mitsuru or any of these other quote-unquote better characters, and I feel like I'll definitely have better results with him than I would with my Aegis or Mitsuru. That being said, I don't feel like he has particularly bad matchups in any specific case. That is a little bit to be determined, but nothing feels too bad to me yet. In the event that I felt like I would have a 3-7 matchup, I would probably try to pick a different character that still mostly fits my playstyle that could cover maybe his weakest matchup. In the event that it was 3-7, I definitely don't feel like I could win against another top-level player, or at least not win consistently, and that's really what I'm looking for as a tournament-level player. So if I did feel like he had a 3-7 matchup, I'd probably pick out of it. If it's 4-6, that's doable. That's definitely winnable. It's not something that I can't get around, especially with a read-based character.
Okay, that's very nice. Okay, so I've had a history of playing grapplers. From Dirt Strike, it was Hugo. From Street Fighter, it was Zangief. Blaze Blue, it was Tager. Possibly the worst decision I ever made in my life. And then, finally, when I got into KOF, I was like, okay, well, I have a team-based game, and I'm not going to kill myself by playing 3 grapplers in KOF. So I decided to pick one and 2 other characters that I thought would teach me things. but still complement my style, which is mainly defensive and reactionary. So I chose Leona. Then I chose Kenso, Kula, Shen, Takuma, and it went on, and eventually I just left it on Takuma. But the point I want to make here is that I noticed some weaknesses that I had due to my very narrow scope of character selecting. And now, when I went into Persona 4 Arena, I told myself I don't want to be the grappler guy again, but I still want to pick a character that kind of fits my style. So I did some research and I looked around at characters, and I think this should come as like no surprise to anyone. I love Oki a lot. When I knock someone down, I like them to like start guessing and praying to, I don't know, the DPS gods or something. What do you call it?
You want to rattle them.
Sure, I want to raffle them too. There we go.
Wait, what?
$2 a ticket to get out.
Oh my god, that makes no sense.
The more you pay, the more likely you are to get out this mix-up.
What does that even mean?
So you like Oki?
I love Oki, right? But I don't want to play a grappler anymore with limited mobility. So I looked up Shadow Lapras, and I thought to myself, okay, what's her Oki like? It looks insane. You knock someone down, they guess left to right, they guess command throw, they guess lockdown strat, etc. So I tried Shadow Lapras. However, the thing I didn't realize was I also really like big damage. I like making people...
punishes.
I like punishes a lot. And that's actually how I won most of my games with Tiger. I would block a lot, I'll get that read, I punish them really hard. And that's missing from Shadow Lapras' play. So, when you pick a character that's gonna fit your style, there's two things I actually want you to think about. One, yes, it fits your style, and two, it can teach you something as well. So I decided that even though Chie might not be the most relevant to my play style, I'm gonna try her anyway, because I like big damage. And Marlin Pie.
What?
Shut up! It makes sense to me.
So anyway, going on to this topic also, there's a matter of what character you find fun and what character that you're going to dedicate yourself to. Because if you play a character that you hate just because they're good and you're good at them, then you're going to leave the game. We saw this with Combo Fiend in Marvel. He was playing his Nova Spencer Hawkeye team for a long time. He was getting crazy good results, but he just stopped playing Marvel for a while because he couldn't stand it. And so we saw him, he went back to his vanilla team, and he was having a lot of fun again. And even though his team is worse than it used to be, he was still getting good results because he was willing to put in that work. Like other characters, he might not have been willing to put in that work with. But he was playing because he was having fun, and since he was still having fun with that particular team, then he was still getting results. Who cares about tiers? Who cares about matchups? He was having fun. He was that made him willing to play long hours with that team, and it made him enjoy himself. And remember that all of this, we're playing a video game, and so if you're not having fun, then why are you playing?
Yeah, you're right. That's actually the most important thing. If you're not having fun, then why are you doing this podcast?
Well, the thing is, like, in the event that you're not having fun, especially this early in the game, I think you should address one of two things that might be going wrong with your mindset. You might think a character's unbeatable, and I promise you that's just not true at all.
Mm-hmm.
In the event that you think any character's unbeatable in this game, please ask more questions. Please talk to more people, because there's no character that's unbeatable in this game. That's not shown in the results in Japan at all. And two, you just might not be playing the right character for you, like Koopa was with Shadow Lapras. So be willing to experiment with new characters. The game just came out, so in the event that you did drop your progress right now, it wouldn't be too much of a setback, and you might find a character you really love to play.
Yes.
Do you guys have anything to add, or should we move on?
That seems pretty good to me.
Actually, I do have a quick question for you, Dom.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick Teddy?
I picked Teddy because, one, I find him funny.
Oh, okay.
Two, he is the biggest troll in the game. But also, he fits my style of going back to Faust and Guilty Gear. If you ever saw his standing S, it filled the entire screen just with Scalpel. And the closest analog in BlazBlue, I think, is Lychee's with Staff 6B? Something like that? I forget.
Yeah.
The one where she kicks her staff across the screen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so I really like just that tool set. That being able to throw out a poke like that without committing to the backswing of a fireball, for example, without committing to the holes of a fireball. I just loved that kind of space control. And when I saw Teddy's baseball bat, I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. Especially since on counter hit, it wall sticks, and you can combo off of it in the corner, and like just that single move, I was like, yeah, I like his tool set. And he's a lot of fun. I love his sound design. He makes me laugh. And someone in chat is saying, I picked Teddy because I like being a dick.
That's fair.
A little more like spacing, and also I like the amount of lockdown that you can achieve on Teddy, but I also like that he's just never the same, because depending on what item is next, you play him differently.
Yeah, I really like that too.
You know what I really like? When Teddy dies. And it was great. When I play my character, I'm still gonna hate Teddy.
Koopa, you sound like a very angry person.
Oh no, man, I'm not. I'm having tons of fun right now.
It's so appropriate that your avatar shows Chie getting hit by a wash basin and getting locked down by meteors.
Okay, yeah. So what are you saying, Dom?
I'm saying that you like wash basins.
Okay, anyway, Koopa is having difficulty with Teddy. We'll talk about how to beat Teddy later.
Yes.
Alright, so anyway, actually that leads perfectly into our next segment, which is 7 frustrating characters for new players, and why you can't beat them, and how you should beat them.
Okay.
This is a really important topic.
Yeah, number 1 on this list is the one that is the woman that everyone in this game is like, how do I beat this girl? And that's Mitsuru.
Rise.
What?
Mitsuru.
Mitsuru.
Rise? She's not even playable.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, no, hold on. Let me just take a quick detour. The way you beat Rise, you go into the navigator section of the character select screen and you turn her off. It's actually very simple.
You choose Nanako, like a true man.
Right, so going into Mitsuru, some of the Achilles heels of Mitsuru are a bit hard to recognize at a glance, but something to definitely notice, her jabs are not as fast startup as most of the other characters. I believe her crouching A is 8 frames, I've heard recently. I've heard 7, I've heard 8, but it's definitely one of those. And I believe her standing jab is 6 frames point blank, or 9 frames at the tip.
Okay.
My frames on that are not 100% confirmed, but I believe that's accurate. So realizing that her options on defense are relatively limited to reversals or very good read jabs, and making sure that you capitalize on that by using either good frame traps or using options that can bait the Dragon Punch, options that can bait the roll, making sure that you're covering all of her defensive choices, especially since her mash out is not as strong as most other characters. Another important thing to address, her Dragon Punch is super cancelable. But she can't super cancel it in the air. So if you call a Dragon Punch very hard, you instant block it, you're right next to her, you can actually fatal counter her before she reaches the ground with a lot of characters. If you can't do that, I would still take a jab punish before she hits the ground. If she has the 50 meter in her pocket, you probably don't want to deal with the guessing game. Unless it will kill her before she gets to Awakening. Maybe you just want to flip that extra coin. Maybe you want to take that risk to try to just kill her right there. In the event that you're calling the super in that circumstance, I would wait for the super flash, then roll it. In the event that she doesn't super, you're kind of back to neutral, and that's just kind of how it is. But if you take those precautions, either hitting her in the air or taking extra risk for the fatal counter if you're maybe not a little bit close enough, you could definitely start to minimize the reward of her defensive choices. That being said, it's really strong, don't get me wrong, but even then, they took one thing away from her Dragon Punch that a lot of other people have. On counter hit, her Dragon Punch does not knock you down. She gets absolutely no Oki for it. You return to neutral. I think that's important to mention because a lot of other characters like Akihiko, Narukami, they get a actual grounded knockdown for their counter hit Dragon Punch.
Right. They can set up their mix-up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you would add?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I missed anything. Make sure you're recognizing how her offense works. It's mostly frame traps or grab. So if she's leaving her offensive, if she's using her pressure tools and she's leaving more than 3 frames, you can roll out of any of her pressure tools. Just make sure that your opponent is either not accounting for that or not reading that. After you start to roll, she's going to start to use more grabs. that gives you more of an opportunity to get out otherwise. Just make sure you're not getting fatal countered all the time by her. Even if your opponent is not capitalizing on it, a strong Mitsuru will, and they will do so much damage, your mind will just be spinning.
Okay. I have a few things I could suggest as well. To begin, actually, I believe 2 frames after Mitsuru does her DP, she still can't cancel to her super. Not that it matters, though, but it's a small amount of leeway.
You mean 2 frames after she lands during her Dragon Punch?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next thing, you can low profile her standing A, which actually is what Pain does to fight against Mitsuru players with his Kanji. And he confirmed that sweep into EX table flip. I mean, EX chair hit. There we go.
Oh wow, that's really
table
cool.
flip. Oh, that's a godlike move.
I wish that actually existed. EX table flip. Fuck this game. Flip the table. I win.
But yeah, low profiling, that's actually a really good idea. Even characters that it doesn't look like you can do that, you still can often. Like Akihiko can sway it with his quarter circle back C, and then you can reaction punish it with the corkscrew.
Another thing, actually, is distance on Mitsuru's block strings. So, for example, 1 jab can transition to a 2B, and 2B doesn't whiff. 2 jabs, and then 2B, and it doesn't whiff. 3 jabs, and then 2B is going to whiff. Now, the reason why this is important is that the only move that Mitsuru has that can be jump cancelable on block is 2B.
That's true.
Now, interesting is if you're a very scared player and you happen to have tons of meter to make your super safe or something like that, if you notice that Mitsuru is outside the distance of her 2B, you can match DP. And if she's like stops for any reason or creates a gap, you hit her and you can cancel if she blocks and make it safe. If you happen to be that kind of character, if you hit her, then that's good too. That's just something to keep in mind if you're that kind of player.
That is true. She does have to really bait the Dragon Punch pretty hard.
Yeah, 2B is pretty bad in block strings, but that's just something to keep in mind. Let me see. Anything else against Mitsuru?
Her anti-air is actually very slow. Her crouching B is probably one of the weakest anti-airs. Maybe Chie's is a little bit worse, but in general, her crouching B is not very fast. The reward for it is massive, but if you're a character that likes to jump, that is kind of a weak spot for her as long as you don't telegraph your air approach very well. So maybe consider like going an extra bit to bait it, make her uncomfortable throwing it, and then you can really jump on her pretty well.
I also say this, though. Even though it is not the fastest anti-air, its invulnerability frames is pretty fast. It activates early. Similar to Shadow Labrys's, actually. But we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So, should we move on? Or Dom, you have anything to say?
I'm good. So, the next one up is Aegis.
Okay.
Because we've been seeing a lot of Aegises in grand finals of California tournaments. And a lot of people go, it's like, how do you block this? How can you possibly beat this guy who's playing Aegis? You know? And so let's get some answers.
It's okay if I start?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. I think Dasset actually knows more about this, but I have a little bit of information. Any normal transition to Orgia mode is punishable except if you transition to EX Orgia mode, which is negative but not punishable. So, for example, to be cancelled to Orgia mode, if you're point blank, you can punish her, or if you have a really fast move, you can punish her. If, for example, actually, if let me think, if Aegis does 2B from a certain distance away and cancels to Orgia mode without using meter, Mitsuru can do her charge punch move, back forward A, and it will punish. If you're at very far distances, you can use back forward A plus B, which is her EX charge move, which punches at very long distances. You can test this out. Let me see, what else? When she does 2B, which is, once again, her spread shot anti-air move, she extends her hurt box, which actually I showed to Dasperl the other day.
Yeah.
It's pretty big, actually. So if you happen to have a move that's projectile invulnerable, you could pop her from even longer distances than you think you can.
You can consider it, basically, the muzzle flare is all hurtable.
Yes, exactly. So with Shadow Labrys, you can do run-up DP, and you hit her from very, very, very far distances to the point where it doesn't make sense. But that's something to keep in mind. Maybe even Teddy can bat her at an even longer range than normal.
And trade with it in its advantage.
Exactly. Put, I guess, in a disadvantaged position against the wall, and just run up and put her closer to the corner, for instance.
And she wasted bullets.
Another thing is, in my opinion, the lower Aegis is on bullets, the more useless she becomes. She's still effective, but she's not as scary. So that's actually a balance factor that I think that's what I can agree with.
I think
yeah, go on.
That mostly comes up against zoners.
Mm-hmm.
The only other reason that her bullets would be getting that low is if she was continually running out of Orgia meter and she had to stall.
Yeah.
So I think if you're playing a rushdown character, you can't really rely on the bullets draining very much.
Right. But like that's both said, against zoners, for Naoto, for instance, the way I saw Dempla play against the SBO Aegis player, I think it was one of them, he would be unabashedly zoning full screen away. Aegis would be throwing bullets and he wouldn't care. Because the more often the Aegis shoots bullets, like the less worried that Dempla becomes in that matchup. And every single time she shot like her Gatling gun, he would cancel into his reversal, which is the shield, and shoot back at her, either getting a counter hit or just forcing her to block or dodge. So that's just something to keep in mind when fighting against Aegis players. That's it, bro. Take it away.
Okay. Other really important choke points. Probably the number one thing to look for in the matchup, if you're not already, is her Orgia meter. That is basically the bar. That's like her life force. If she does not have Orgia meter, she is useless. In the event that it overheats, she's the worst character in the game. If she has full Orgia meter, she is a dominant force that you just cannot at all contest in a lot of circumstances with a lot of characters.
Yes.
So if she has it activated, in the event that she got the opening to activate it, you have to consider that like the Persona X factor. Like, time that out at all costs. Use any amount of meter you have to either get her away or get her knocked down. Because if she's knocked down during Orgia, she's losing everything. She does not have offense. She's not getting a combo. And she's just stuck losing her most important resource. That being said, if you knock her down, you have to recognize she gets an extra reversal when she's in Orgia mode, called the Orgia backdash. She backdashes up and back. It's the only backdash in the entire game that is functional on Wake Up. So calling that out will be important, especially if your opponent is willing to mash on it as just kind of like a safe option that won't be beat by anything. It can be beat. Every character can instant air dash and grab it, and it will be counter hit. So especially if you have a character with a high output counter hit air grab, make sure you're using that. Other characters will have more specific punishes that you should definitely learn.
Yes. Also, if you punish that backdash, it is counter hit, right?
Yes.
That feels so good.
Yeah, no, it's very useful.
But another thing I'd like to interject and say is that when you see an Aegis who is low on Orgia meter, then there are only a certain number of ways they can turn Orgia off.
That's true.
And you need to make sure that you are ready to punish all of those options to turn off Orgia, because they know just as well as you are that they have to have the Orgia meter in order to be a dominant force in the matchup. And so they're going to actually have to play a lot more carefully, even when their Orgia is just plain low.
Yeah. I have an awesome example of that. I saw Mikey against James Shea in SoCal.
Yes.
Mikey would burst when James Shea was confirming a very low Orgia meter combo. James Shea intending to end the combo early and deactivate Orgia safely. But Mikey would burst when he was low and force James Shea to take either a fatal counter Persona 6D or overheat. Now that is just like the ultimate dichotomy for Aegis, because she doesn't like either of those options whatsoever. So I really respect that Mikey was able to force that kind of circumstance. It's very creative. Even full screen, she cannot deactivate it safely against Yukiko.
And you were saying because one of the ways for Aegis to deactivate Orgia mode is to DP, correct?
Yes, that's right.
There we go.
So another thing Aegis players will be doing a lot that you need to understand the answers for is 2B. That is her basic anti-air. It covers the whole screen in bullets in a wide arc that goes all the way above her. Now there's two ways that I found to deal with this. One, you can roll it. In the event that you roll it, you can get a fatal counter punish with most characters. So definitely consider that option. But obviously rolling is a bit risky. So alternatively, you can just take to the air and try to instant block it directly above her.
Yes.
She doesn't really have any options that are effective afterwards if you just instant block it and fall down on her. She has to cancel to something else, and most of her cancels do not beat anti-air. They're not anti-air options. So consider just getting right above her, instant blocking it, and falling on her, and trying to read her escape routes from there, because she doesn't really have much that can operate at that range.
Also, to add on to that, after 2B, first 2B is not invincible anyway, and thank God for that. She's in an extended amount of counter hit status when she's after she's done. So I'm not sure what you call that in fighting game terms. But
Recovery?
she's in recovery, and I'm guessing like 8 frames of recovery where she's counter hittable, then like 3 more frames where she can be hit normally.
It's much more than that. It's like 30.
Jeez, that's ridiculous. Okay, my bad.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's huge though. So that's the good suggestion of just jumping and blocking.
If you jump block it, she will definitely cancel to something.
Mm-hmm.
So the recovery is not necessarily useful there, but it is for the roll.
All right, anything else, or should we move on?
I think that's pretty decent.
All right, the next one up is Koopa's favorite matchup, Teddy.
Okay.
Hey, Dom, how about you take this one away?
Okay, so a couple of things that a lot of new players don't realize is that, okay, so when Teddy does a double jump or super jump and throws an item, Kintoki Doji, his persona, is on the ground. Whenever he throws an item, whenever he hits D, you can always punish his persona, no matter where he is, as long as you're in a regular neutral state. And so, for example, if you're say, Elizabeth or Yukiko or something like that, just chuck projectiles at his persona, because Teddy is pretty damn useless without his persona.
Except for the bat.
But in the event that he's in the air, it's kind of an interesting strategy to just continue to cover the ground with projectiles, knowing that he'll have to come down, and he's not threatening you from up there. And you're also controlling his persona at the same time. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so it's a common mistake people make. It's like, oh, he's up there, I can't punish his persona. His persona's still on the ground. The only time his persona is in the air and throwing an item is when he chains off of his 2C. You've seen that before, where his persona just hops up into the air. That's his fatal counter.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the only time that the persona will actually throw an item, is when he's chaining it off of a C sequence. So you need to be aware of where his persona is and where it's going to be, and just hit it. It's a good habit to have in general for everyone's persona, except for a couple of people who are just really good at protecting their personas. But that's one key. Another thing is, Teddy has one overhead at all in this game. It's something that we keep talking about, but it's something that people don't realize, is that you should be blocking low. His main game, in order to get that hit, is about zoning, it's about lockdown, and it's about cross-up. Because his only overhead is his all-out attack.
Now, I just want to clarify. You mean also his jump A and his jump B are not overhead attacks?
You can block them low.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the only cases I've seen for that in general. So it's definitely important to point out, and it's an intentional weakness of the character, because so many other things are very strong about him.
Yes.
Yeah. And note, you can't fall asleep on his all-out attack, because it's very good, because it moves forward so much that it can actually cross you up. So he can actually jump past you and then come down with a 15-ton weight. Mm-hmm. And so you can't fall asleep on it. But it's a matter of when he's just plain jumping at you, you should probably be blocking low and watch out for the cross-up is all.
Yes.
Yeah.
May I all out attack that? May I add to that?
Yeah.
Alright, so the all-out attack from Teddy, as Dom has said, it can cross you up. So I decided to take this to training mode and see what distances it can do it. Point blank, it can do it. And about half a step away from your character, it can do it. Anywhere else, it will not cross you up.
I see.
So it has to be that close. So anywhere else, block normally. When he runs up to you, faking a grab and doing all-out attack, he's probably going to cross you up. And this is the reason why I blocked Hono so much, actually, the other day when I was playing against him.
Also, he only has 2 lows, and so, his crouching A, it's really stubby, and his sweep. But it's a matter of, most of his game is about locking you down and mixing you up. And to that effect, also, you need to learn the item sequence just as well as the other player knows the item sequence.
Okay.
you have to play differently depending on what item is coming next. If the barrel is coming next, if the dry ice is coming next, a good Teddy will know what is coming next and adjust game plans. Dry ice means that they can get a great combo off of 5C, 2C, D, and then that leads into huge damage. And so some of them will adjust their game plan to try and land that. The barrel means that you have free mix-ups against someone who's on the ground. And also, since it comes right after the balloon bomb, then you also have an unblockable air projectile and so they're going to try and play a much more lockdown game. They're going to try the old, like the Captain America move, right, where you call an assist, roll past them and roll back, and then just try and mess with them, right? There's a lot of different game plans for different items, and you're basically playing as a different character each time. Nerd Josh was saying that his goal is to learn one new item combo a day, and they all require different openers, they require different ways of playing, different angles, different approaches, and so you just want to be aware, especially since sometimes, with that old trick where, Teddy will throw an item when he's in the air, and you don't see the item come out, you don't know it's come out. Knowledge is power, and you have to know what the item is. Because you don't want to just land on not Dr. Salt, you don't want to land on Muscle Milk.
Yeah, can we put you on a spot for a second, Dom?
Sure.
Let's see if you actually memorize the order.
I was just about to say that.
There we go.
Okay. So it's Green Robot.
Alright.
Dr. Salt.
Okay.
Crap, after Green Robot, Dr. Salt, it should be, oh my god.
Yes!
Is it Smoke and then Missile? Smoke and then Missile. Smoke and then Missile.
Okay, alright. I'm looking at a list right now. Let's go.
Is that right?
No, I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm serious.
What?
Yeah. Someone get me a list of Teddy's items and do not put it in the chat. Put it on my Twitter. Let's go.
Oh god.
Continue anyway.
Alright, so, okay. I know that it starts out green, like, Green Robot.
It's a shaky start, Dom. I'm
Dr.
gonna be
Salt.
honest.
Come on, man!
No, bullshit. Go!
Keep going.
Third should be Dry Ice. And then should come Smokescreen and Missile. And after that is Balloon Bomb, or Parachute Bomb, and... Oh wait, did I miss... Crap! Oh god, hold on. I know that Pinwheel comes before Rage Drink, because that's another game plan.
Exposed.
You know what?
Barrel and
just
Barrel
give
and
up.
Balloon Bomb come together.
Just give up.
It's
The
over.
Rage, after the Rage comes the Red Robot. After Red Robot is Curry, after Curry is the Meteors. I told you that Pinwheel comes after Rage Drink. It's a setup where you actually use the Pinwheel to knock them into Rage Drink.
Okay, so one more time from start to finish as fast as you can.
Go. I have the list.
Oh my god.
I'm serious.
Okay. Green Robot.
Okay.
Dr. Salt.
You're right.
Smokescreen, Missile.
Wrong.
Damn it.
All right,
Okay,
we're
so it's
done.
not-
Okay, we're done. No. The
We're done.
objective of today was actually just expose you. Okay, we're done with the podcast. See you later.
So,
Son of a bitch.
other things to watch for against Teddy. Teddy's primary mix-up is either cross-up or frame trap grab. So don't really look for high-low. It's not really going to be there. And you're going to have to pay attention to his knockdown because he can set up a knockdown with jump B item, and it will be different based on where he is in the item sequence. So when you know the item sequence, unlike Dom, you can prepare for what is coming next in the Teddy matchup. Another thing to really pay attention for is that his Dragon Punch will beat autopilot knockdown setups. So if you're playing Che, if you're playing Narukami, if you're playing any character that likes to do like sweep into persona attack to set up some kind of standard knockdown, you're going to have to not use that in the Teddy matchup. It's one of the most important things to know because it will not work, period. He's going to get out safely, so you have to use other mix-up.
Yes.
I think that's actually pretty good for Teddy.
There's only one thing I would add.
Okay.
Instant blocking is 5B.
Okay. Why?
Okay, so here's the reason why. Teddy players who are good, they'll confirm 5B. If it hits, they'll dash forward. On block, you can punch that. If they do 5B and stand, certain characters can punish that. So
They're not gonna, though.
yeah. But what they're really gonna do is they're gonna 5B and backdash to make it safe.
Right.
The reason why you should instant block 5B is because then you gain priority as you run in and press the button against them.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's it, though.
The other thing to notice, if they do 5B and dash forward, it's actually punishable even if you don't instant block. It's -6.
Yes, I know.
So at any range, at any confirm, like if they do 5B, you block it and they dash forward, please press a button, do something to keep them honest.
Speaking of which, here's the last thing that I advise everyone to learn. If Teddy lands his reversal, his DP, then you will be put in a situation where you're at about mid-screen, and you're raged, and he is in perfect range to hit 5B. Learn the habits of the other player, and you can actually, get out of that setup. Because for example, if you roll, then if he autopilot hits 5B, then
You get a punish.
you're going to be able to get a punish on him.
Yeah,
If
that's good.
he autopilot hits 5B and you're not doing anything, okay, you hit a 5B. Now you're back to neutral further away. You don't want to play into his game. You want to be able to make sure that out of that situation you know what to do. Don't panic and figure it out.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so I believe the next on the list is Kanji.
Okay, I can actually handle this one pretty well because I know that the primary complaint about Kanji is from people who are playing rushdown characters. The thing is, against Kanji, he is the grappler of the game. As with any grappler in any fighting game I've seen so far, even a character that likes to rush down is going to have to zone Kanji. This is going to feel really weird, especially if you really like to rush down, because you're going to sacrifice a lot of knockdowns, you're going to give a lot of space back to Kanji, and the idea is you want him to hang himself at neutral, because his neutral game is weaker than every other character in the game, as far as I can tell. So, let's say you're playing Akihiko, a character I have a lot of experience with. I play a lot of Kanjis in NorCal, like Tone, Black Mage, Pain, a lot of Kanjis with pretty great resumes, and I have been successful in the matchup by staying at the tip of a kill rush, because it's a distance where Kanji's options are all so slow or a little bit too short. So either he has the range but he doesn't have the startup, or he has the startup but he doesn't have the range, and I have both. So I use that to keep Kanji in a state of kind of paralysis where he just can't press any button, and I get to use that to win the footsies. After I have quote-unquote paralyzed him, I can secure like footsies mix-up, as weird as that sounds. I don't actually want solid knockdowns against this character in general, because his Dragon Punch is so effective and the reward is so high. You can't safe jump his Dragon Punch, so get rid of that dream right away. Like, there's only one way to safe jump his Dragon Punch, and Akihiko does not have access to that. So I'll talk about the safe jump his Dragon Punch later. But in the Akihiko Kanji matchup, you can't do that. In the event that you have a character that you can rush him down. Akihiko's not that character. You want to mix him up from neutral, which is going to feel bizarre. After you get used to that distance, you can really control his options, because if he approaches from the air, you have a great anti-air with 2B. If he approaches from the ground, you can beat the speed of his normals with your kill rush and with your 5B to fatal him out of like desperation attempts after that. So you can really control the neutral game. With other characters like Che and Narukami, with Che, it actually might be pretty weird. I haven't played the matchup too much, but you're going to want to use your startup for sure. The startup of your normals is going to be key, especially your far distance normals like 5C. You want to keep them at that same kind of range, the tip of 5C. Narukami has a pretty easy time with this because he has a great anti-air, he has a great poke. Just keep him at neutral, zone him out, and you'll be able to win the matchup much easier than normal.
A tip for beginners. I was seeing this actually in Maximilian's videos, where he's like, I don't know how to deal with this guy yet. He was getting hit by the dive. Against Kanji's air-to-ground command throw, duck.
Yeah. After you duck it, you can punish it. With a lot of characters, you can get a fatal as well. So make sure you know that punish.
Yes.
I guess I could go into the safe jump his Dragon Punch thing right now. Basically, his Dragon Punch catches any move that hits it. So if you use an A or a B attack with any character and he presses Dragon Punch, no matter what your timing is, even if you try to safe jump it, you will not beat his Dragon Punch. That being said, there are certain characters with normals that can meaty his wake up like a safe jump, but they use the persona instead. So it quote-unquote catches your persona normal, breaks the persona card, but he's still vulnerable, and you still get to fatal counter punish him. Characters that can do this are, I believe, Naoto, Mitsuru, I think Aigis can. There are a lot of characters that have persona normals in the air that can safe jump meaty his wake up in a way that you can't do with your normals.
And to help players who play those characters, Naoto gets a safe jump off of 5 AAA, which is when she does a kick and it wall splats you. You then wait for her legs to relax, and you instant air dash and press jump C. Jump C is the persona attack. If Kanji decides to DP on his wake up, you'll block in time. And I think even your persona doesn't die, shockingly. However, if Kanji does wake up super throw and you did that safe jump, you'll be caught. So that's a help to Kanji players as well. Mitsuru uses this to safe jump. She does, on Kanji's knockdown, when he's on the floor, jump C, I believe, which is the air whip.
Yes, it's rising jump C.
Rising jump C, correct. So if Kanji does command throw on wake up, it whiffs and you can punish. If he does DP on wake up, your persona gets hit instead of you, and then you can punish. And last but not least, I believe Aigis is 5C, which is the Athena slash attack on the ground.
Yeah, her 5C and her jump C as well.
Yes, I believe those can be used to bait out Kanji's DP. Although I'm not 100% sure about that. Is there anything else to add? Because I have other things to say about Kanji.
Go ahead.
I'm good.
Alright, so coming from a player who's played a lot of grapplers, if you can ever make a grappler's Oki into a mix-up on his part, you're doing a good job. And what I mean by that is, a grappler knocks you down, and you happen to have a tool set that puts him at risk if he attempts to command throw. I guess the best example is Kanji's 5B, the scream. You want some? Right, that right there. It puts him, I think...
Rest in peace, headphone users.
I'm sorry. I think it's about -1 or -2 or neutral. It's one of those three options. The point being is, Kanji's like to do normal, like 5A, or they want to do a throw afterwards. Mitsuru can avoid... She can avoid the command throw by pressing back and B, which is her fatal. So you can change it into...
Is that throw at vulnerable frame 1? Sorry to interrupt.
Not sure, but because Kanji has startup on his throw, it doesn't matter if he's doing regular throw at least. So he gets counter hit out of it. So then what ends up happening is the risk reward becomes this. If Kanji does command throw, he risks being fatal, big damage, and put full screen again against the Mitsuru matchup, which is actually not in his favor. If he does a normal, which is less risk, he can catch her out of the 4B, he can catch her out of jumping, he can catch her out of backdashing. So that's the low risk choice he has, but no big damage off of it, unfortunately. Unless you do a really hard call out, like
meaty 5C.
Exactly, right? But here's another problem with that move as well. Meaty 5C at a distance, if you block it, you can hold up immediately. If he tries to sweep you with 2C, you'll avoid it. If he does
5C EX anti-air command grab, I believe he'll catch you out of jump.
Yes, he'll catch you out of jump, actually.
So there is still a risk reward.
Yes. So that means his hard call out for you would be, you jumped? Okay, persona grab. If you did not jump, go in. Right? So then this is keeping options of the grappler in mind, as well as your damaging options to beat his. Always, whenever you try to call out a grappler's own mix-up on you, try to find the answer and punish him for it. Never let him go away.
That makes sense.
Which is actually what we were talking about last podcast, when Pain would DP on Wake Up, and 2KB just so many times did not punish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else in the Kanji matchup? Or should we move on? All right. So I'm going to let Koopa take this one, because the next one up is Slabris, his what he called once his angry waifu.
Slabris is Shadow Labris, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. I gotta... There we go. Perfect. Okay, so Shadow Labris. The first thing you gotta know is that in this game, there is... I think the term is absolute guard. And absolute guard is when your character is in extended block stun, or not extended block stun, but in huge amounts of block stun, you cannot roll past them or something and do a cross up. I think this actually exists in Marvel 3 to some degree with Virgil as well. If you do swords, right? That spinning sword thing around Virgil, and you teleport directly behind them. If swords is still active, you're not going to mix them up. You can block.
Yeah, it's very standard.
You can block either way.
If you're still in block stun, you cannot be crossed up.
Exactly. It exists in this game as well. I tested this out by doing knockdown 5C with my persona, which is the fist, and I rolled past them and pressed 2A. You can block that either way. In fact, if you want to learn how to block Shadow Lapras, the very first thing I want players to recognize is what her persona does. If you see the persona raise his 2 fists off the ground and slam them, surprisingly, that's a low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks pretty weird.
I know. I thought that was an overhead too when I first did it. Next thing, her 5C is the fist, long start as well. Her 236C is the laser, which he shoots out of his mouth. He shoots out of his mouth. Sorry.
Not saying anything.
Okay, shoots out of his mouth, and there's a little follow-up after the laser's done with that big pillar of fire. His 2C is Fire Horn, which is an anti-air that can hit you standing, and it can hit you out of jump startup as well. It's for lockdown. His back forward C is a charge command throw, which he can loop on you. I'll tell you more about that later. And let's see if I'm missing anything. He can also do...
He can block.
You can block as well, and during block you cannot break that. Okay, so when Shadow Lapras knocks you down...
You also missed one more thing, which is the Shenwu.
The Shenwu? Oh, the up C! Oh yeah, I can't forget that. Tiger uppercut. Let's see. Up C. No. 5C is not a low. It's the double fist that's a low, sir. Anyway, uppercut is used against zoners, and sometimes you can create ambiguous cross-ups with that. Anyway, when Shadow Lapras does a setup, I think the easiest version is off of an air combo, and you do jump 214 A or B. Look for the timing of the persona. If the persona activates the moment you hit the ground, it's gonna be meaty. If it's kind of hard. It's a certain meaty situation, but the easiest one is if the persona activates the moment you hit the ground from jump 214 A or B, that's going to be a meaty situation. You cannot jump that. You cannot roll that. It's going to hit you out of start with anything. And you try to DP that, you pray to God that Shadow Lapras was doing something.
Dragon Punch is not a good choice, basically.
It's not a good choice. However, because of absolute guard system in the game, you cannot cross up with that. Unless you unless you roll. That's it. So if you try to jump instant air dash past your opponent, you can block either way. And I've tried so many times to create a setup where you have to block it cross up or you have to block it normal. It doesn't exist. You have to roll to make that a cross up, and that's easily reactable.
But in the event that it's being rolled, can't you just make that a vague roll? I think that's the same thing.
How you make that a non-cross up roll is you take 2 steps back and then you roll.
Okay, so yeah, that's a vague roll. It's a completely vague cross-up. Isn't that just as good?
Problem with that though is if you roll a Shadow Lapras, you can DP and punish her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when you see roll and you see 2 steps back, DP.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good advice.
Okay, so let's get out of the Oki setups actually, and let's talk more about spacing. Shadow Lapras doesn't have the fastest normals. I think her standing jab is 7 frames, which is unfortunate, and all her block strings, except for like 5A into X and 2A into X, do not have gaps depending on the distance.
It's not like Lapras. Labras's block strings, even if they're the exact same moves, are tighter. Yes. They do not have the same gap that Shadow Lapras has. So definitely recognize that if you're playing as Shadow Lapras.
Right.
Her block strings are not airtight.
So if you see a Shadow Lapras who likes to continue the block strings to the point where it's ridiculous, DP is going to punish them. And let me see. Is there anything else I want to mention about Shadow Lapras?
I think actually zoners against Shadow Lapras is very awkward. Do you have any advice for them?
Okay, so cross your fingers and pray to God. But besides that, I hate to say this, but Shadow Lapras dominates zoners so well. Like, I think it's in her favor against Yukiko for sure, right? That's probably
that's no question.
The notorious 7-3 matchup in Shadow Lapras' favor.
And there have been people even argue it might be 8-2.
Yeah, it's horrible. And the reason why is Yukiko cannot zone. She has to go in and rush you down. If she tries to toss a feather, not a feather, a fan at you, or fire, you can simply block it by pressing D, and the zoning is neutralized. If she tries to extend her zoning, you can do up C, which is a tiger uppercut, or the Shen Wu punch, and punish her, or at least put her in block stun so you can rush down. Her wake up options do not exist against you because you're vague cross up as well as multiple mix ups. It's horrible. Against Naoto, the same thing exists.
So in the event that you're playing a zoner against Shadow Labrys, you're either going to need to play very, very honest and not commit to many zoning options.
Yes.
Or you might want to consider a different character in some cases. I feel like Naoto can probably do it. I don't think Yukiko really has much hope in that matchup. I think Elizabeth is similarly disadvantaged. So if you're having a lot of trouble with that matchup, maybe consider a sub for that specific matchup.
I'd like to mention another specific point that makes those zoners so disadvantaged against Shadow Labrys, that one of the primary strategies against Shadow Labrys is to break her persona, punch it in the face until it goes away.
Yes.
And that is accomplished by dealing 410 damage at one time to the persona.
Yes.
And those zoners have a terrible, terrible time trying to do that. Yukiko's Bs are all multi-hit, her Cs are all multi-hit, and so there's not really a single hit that will break it.
Except, I think, for some weird projectile? I forgot, though.
But
I think if she uses Kanji, the fire, but it's really telegraphed so she can block.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can just block.
Really the only way they can break the persona is by hitting Shadow Labrys while the persona is activated. So if you were trying to play the matchup, that is definitely how you would do it. I think that's a decent synopsis of Shadow Labrys.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Although, there is one last thing I want to say, because this is going to happen a lot, people are going to get confused. Shadow Labrys has a loop where she command throws you, and then on your wake up, command throws again. She's going to walk a small bit forward and do jump A. If you jump, you'll get hit by jump startup, and she's going to autopilot the combo back into the same loop where she knocks you down with jump 214A axe and then command throw again. How you get out of that setup is if you're Mitsuru, you can DP. If you're anyone else, I don't think you can. And you delay tech is how you get out of the setup. You delay tech, you wait up late, the persona command throw whiffs you, and her jump A whiffs, and then you're back to neutral.
Got it.
Okay, we're done. Next.
Alright,
okay, probably the last one, right?
We have 2 characters listed here, and then a third. They kind of operate on the same axis. It's Chie, Narukami, and Akihiko.
Okay. I would say they are distinguished, but yeah, they're all rushdown characters.
You mean distinct, but anyway.
Sure.
So anyway, so the game plan for these guys is knock you down, do a bunch of fairly safe meaty setups, mix you up, go high-low, go left-right, and just beat the crap out of you. And so a lot of people get really flustered when they get knocked down, and then they just can't figure out what the pattern is.
Yeah, especially because with Che and Narukami, it's actually covered by the persona as well. So most defensive options are not available.
And so, what advice do you guys have?
Well, I think the most important thing is to realize that there isn't much of a way out of this except to just enter the guessing game. There's one way out of it, but it involves taking a lot of damage and giving up a lot of meter to your opponent. If you just sit on the ground against Narukami, he'll have to use a specific setup to get you back on the ground. You can do that once, but if you don't tech again, the setup will not autopilot. So you'll actually get back to neutral. You'll take in probably like 1,500 extra damage and given him a good chunk of meter, but you won't have to guess. So that is one thing to consider against Narukami, especially if you feel like you can outplay him at neutral. Other than that, you just kind of have to take the knockdown and recognize that Narukami and Shie have the option to do an empty jump low, a overhead low, or an air dash triple overhead. And those are just like really good options that are pretty much a 50-50, or maybe a little bit better than that. You might have to take this loop a couple times, but the damage output is not so high from it. So recognize that it's not the end of the world, and be brave, I guess. Like, you don't want to press Dragon Punch, you don't want to press Roll, you don't want to press Backdash. None of those options are going to work.
Any advice from you?
Yeah, to add to that. So the setup or yeah, the setup usually begins off a sweep with Chie and Yu, so 2AB. And then for Yu, I think they call 5D, and then for Chie, they call 5DD, or 2DD. Before Chie or Yu attacks, you're able to gain meter by instant blocking. I think it's every instant block you get plus 2 meter. And then the mix-up comes. So one of the safe ways to get out of Chie and Yu's mix-up is to guard cancel, unless they bait it out or read it. So meter is really important, in I think versus Chie or Yu especially. Against Yu, 5DD. Learn how to instant block the timing for that just to gain meter. So at least every single time you guess wrong, you're getting something from it, even though it's very little. So maybe you're at, I don't know, you're just a little bit more until you get 50 meter to guard cancel, and you don't want to deal the mix-up. Instant block those 2 hits from 5D from you, and then guard cancel out once you see that he's in a string that he cannot bait you out of. For Chie, I haven't tested this officially yet, but I think it's the absolute guard as well. If Chie tries to roll past you when she does 5DD on your wake up for the mix-up, it is not cross-up. I think that's the case. That's pretty much all I have to add.
One thing that I'll tell everybody, this is a generic piece of advice, but get intimately acquainted with everybody's Dragon Punch. Intimately acquainted. For example, if you're Teddy, then you can just wake up and, hey, it's like, hey, look, it's a meaty setup. I'm going to DP on wake up. And if you're not acquainted with the Teddy matchup, then you'll get hit with that a lot.
Yes.
And you'll be like, how do I beat this? Well, the answer is you just have to change your game plan. Everybody's DP requires its own game plan. Some of them are different game plans than others. For example, Chie's game plan, when you knock her down, is if you think that she's going to wake up DP, you sweep. And then she just flies over you.
To actually add to that, it's really interesting because I hear Narukami's really complain about Teddy, and the main reason is because his meaty persona setups do not work on Teddy, and the main reason why is you cannot safe jump Teddy's DP. If you're in the vicinity of his explosion, you're gonna get hit. And how it works is when Narukami knocks you down with sweep and calls 5D for his persona, if he jumps, he's in the vicinity of Teddy's DP, and therefore you'll get hit. And he's into rage status, and he can get too.
I believe you can actually safe jump it.
You sure?
But you can't safe jump it in a way that lets you punish, because you activate it, he's full screen, and he's actually invulnerable till he recovers.
Okay.
So it's not that you'll get hit by it, but you won't get anything either, and you won't have a knockdown after it.
Okay, so in the sense that you can't safe jump, punish it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there are ways that you can outrange it. For example, Teddy hitting another Teddy with 5B. He'll just be out of range of the explosion, but the thing is that then they're just back into neutral. And so yeah, just get acquainted with everything. It's really important in this game, especially. It's not really like Street Fighter, where pretty much one DP, you've seen most of them. It's very different.
They're very
for each
different.
person.
Drastically different.
Anything else, Al?
I think I'm done with that.
Okay. Should we move on to the very last character, if you want to do so?
Sure.
Okay.
I could probably sum up pretty quickly.
Go ahead.
All right, everybody, get out your notebooks. We're going to be starting to talk about Akihiko.
2.5 pages out of 3 when I asked this guy this.
The last character on this list is Akihiko. I get the question all the time, how do you get back on your feet after Akihiko knocks you down? And the problem is, it's actually a very long conversation. But if I was going to give you a very brief summary, Akihiko is one of the only offensive characters that is still making reads on his knockdown. That being said, if you have defensive patterns, you are never going to get out of Akihiko's pressure, period. He has too many options that beat specific things very well. So make sure on defense you're accounting for your backdash, your roll, instant block mashing, especially like if you use A-hook, if you instant block and mash, you'll probably hit him out of whatever's next. And also considering your Dragon Punch, because if you're using all those defensive operations in tandem, you will be able to get them off you much more successfully than if you're just trying to use one or the other. scroll will lose to EX Sway. It will also lose to grab. Your Dragon Punch will lose to EX Sway. It will lose to EX Hook. It will lose to Odd Attack. Your backdash will lose to a number of things, and the biggest problem with the backdash is it's not active on Wake Up, but when you're back on your feet afterwards, make sure you consider instant block backdash as an option. And jump out will lose to continued meaties. Like if he keeps doing A hooks, your jump out will lose in the jump block frames, the continued meaties. Also, being above Akihiko can be very dangerous because he has such a great anti-air. So, that being said, there's not too much overlap there. If you keep varying them on defense, you can get out. Just please be careful about pressing buttons too much because his fatal counter conversions are absolutely massive. Off of his A hook fatal, off of his EX hook fatal, and off of his 5B fatal, they're all about 6,000 plus damage.
And that was actually pretty summarized. Wow.
Yeah, I tried to condense it as much as I can. It's not like the deepest version, but that should get people started.
Okay.
Cool. So I think that comes to an end with that brings to an end basically everything we had planned. Are there any other questions that you guys had floating around, or should we go into the user-submitted questions?
Let's go ahead and do that. User-submitted questions.
Okay. Do you have any of those ready, Koopa?
Yes, I got tons. When I put this 2 hours before a podcast, everyone sent me tweets. There we go. And the first question is... nothing. Okay, so 3 questions and answer from the stream.
Well, actually, there is a question from Twitter.
Oh, serious?
Which was Hypebot asking, it's like, so when will Mitsuru get figured out like what happened with Sentinel and Wesker?
Whoa.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not so much like that. The thing is, Mitsuru is pretty much undeniably one of the most powerful characters in the game. The risk reward for her is so strong, and I don't see any kind of technology coming to surpass her in the way that Wesker did. The thing is, Wesker was in a crazy game called Marvel, so there was still so much room to develop past him. But Persona is, I think, a lot more structured than Marvel was, so I don't expect her to get outclassed. That being said, when people do figure her out, they will recognize that her matchups with most of the top-tier characters are relatively even.
She has a very complete toolbox, unlike the Sentinel and Wesker. That's the thing. And so Sentinel and Wesker, they are much more comparable to Kanji, honestly.
That makes sense because Kanji is really, really strong in America right now.
Yeah, true. But, yeah, so that was the question from what is his real name? Derek.
Common Rider Tag.
Yeah.
Okay, there's an
anyway,
interesting question from Frandit. That's it. Do you want to answer this question or no?
What is it?
Read it on the stream chat.
I don't have my stream open. My computer is basically my computer is from the 80s. So if I opened up Skype and Firefox at the same time, it would probably explode.
Oh.
Please read it for me.
Well, I'm just going to put it into the Skype text then, so that we don't necessarily say it out loud.
Yeah, I think it's something that would be interesting to answer, but it's a little bit dangerous too.
It's very divisive.
Oh, okay. I actually have a great answer for this.
Go ahead.
So, there is a very popular video floating around about Filipino champ talking about a persona in a very negative context. And what is important to realize is this is before he had even seen the game. This is before he had played it, before he had seen it, and also before the game had demonstrated that it is doing very well in tournaments. That being said, just a few days ago, before Champ went to Revelations, he told me that the game had been doing really well. Like, obviously, he recognized that, and if it's popular, Champ will play it. So he asked me to help the FGTV house learn Persona soon. So I don't know why people are giving so much credit to this video. It's obviously just for sensationalism on FGTV. It's free marketing, and to be honest, you guys really fell for it really bad, and I expected you guys to really know Champ will do better than that, but it's just marketing.
Okay. Perfect, actually. Thank you for the answer.
Yeah, sure. I should add a disclaimer to that. I don't know if FGTV House will pick up Persona because they're very fickle about that. Whatever game continues to do well, they will play. So if Persona does continue to do well, as it has been, they will definitely play it eventually.
Okay, question from Rainer Wolf. What's some advice for Kanji against S-Lab? Sure. Okay, so... I don't even play Kanji. So, go on. Don, what were you going to say?
I wasn't going to say anything.
That was me. But I was going to say it's probably mostly about making sure whenever you do get knocked down, your mix-up is very effective and forces the risk-reward way out of her favor. Her Dragon Punch is very low reward if she hits it, and your mix-up is massive damage when you hit it. So whenever you do get in, make sure you hit that. I think the lightning bolts will really help at neutral.
Yes, they will.
Especially since I think it can break the Persona.
Actually, they can't.
But
it locks down Shadow Labrys pretty well. So whenever you knock down Shadow Labrys with a command throw, you have a choice to either follow it up with Cruel Attack, which is 236A or B, or AB, whichever you like, or you could do a lockdown with 5D. And I think the preferable one is actually lockdown from what I've seen when I played against Pain. Also, obviously, learn your punishes against Shadow Labrys. She has to make many good decisions on your knockdown to eventually return to neutral and zone. Whenever she makes a mistake of a Persona, you should always break it. Jump B breaks it, 2B breaks it. Not sure what else breaks it, but those are just options as well. Make her guess. You gone?
Do you know if the D command grab will make her Dragon Punch with and push it?
It does.
It does. Okay,
yes.
That's really important.
And if she not neutral jump, if he jumps regularly and just jump B, and you did delayed command throw, which is quarter circle back D, you'll catch her.
Oh, okay.
A lot of things. Let me see, what else? 5B breaks it. Oh my god. The screen breaks
really?
it. Yeah, that's what made me so angry when I first learned that. Yeah, I love that matchup.
That sounds really good.
If he tries the anti-air with 2B, good Shadow Labrys players will be doing 2B plus 2C, which means if 2B whiffs, 2C catches the jump. If you try to call out the anti-air with jump C, which is this fatal counter in the air, you'll get hit by the 2C. The only problem with doing that, though, is that you negate mix-up neutral and you negate pushing him back, which is unfortunate. Just be patient in that matchup. You have tons of time to push her into the corner, or even just to get one good guess and knock her out. Remember that Shadow Labrys has... she has gaps in her block strings, which you can disrespect with either a DP, which has huge amounts of reward for your character, a command throw, or a super command throw, or even a super chair throw. Yeah, Dom?
I love how you side right there, just to drive home the point that there's so many things about Shadow Labrys that just make you sad.
Because that's how I lost. The gaps in my block strings.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, really?
That's probably a pretty good answer.
Okay. Any other questions? Let's see.
Here's a good question, actually. What do I do in the neutral game as GA? I feel like every time I throw out a 5C or 5B, it's getting broken.
David, go ahead.
I think the most important thing to recognize about Chie is she has the fastest, just standard movement options in the game. Her dash is the fastest. Her air movement is the fastest. So make sure that you are thoroughly using just the system mechanics to your advantage, since your dash movement is so strong. That being said, there are matchups where you will get outranged, and it'll feel very uncomfortable at neutral. In those matchups, you want to just be very annoying, fly around the screen, and just make your movement really hard to predict. Another thing that you can consider is if you use her rising jump C, you will stall your height in a very awkward way that lets you air dash in a place, in a time that your opponent would have to understand that that's exactly what you're aiming for. So play around with that a little bit. Rising jump C, the air dash into offensive attacks might help you break through in a couple ways that you normally would not have had. I can't give too much of a great answer for that because Che is only a sub of mine, but that has worked for me. All those together have worked for me.
But yeah, to add to that, it's one of those things like Chie doesn't have that many neutral game gimmicks or anything like that. You are going to have to play honest, and you're going to have to play at a mild disadvantage in terms of just your normals because Chie's normals are stubby. And so that means that you're going to have to learn how to move. Just learn how to move. That's the main thing. Like, know where all of their normals are going to be and get around them.
Past that,
Really
make sure that your offense is capitalizing correctly. Like her all-out attack is probably the best in the game. Between the speed of it, it is probably the fastest, and also the reward of it mid-screen. I think it's the highest rewarding mid-screen, because if you do the C launch off of all-out attack, you can actually use jump D to bring them back to the ground and then relaunch for about 4.5k damage. And that's probably the only attack in the game that has that kind of reward. On top of it being the fastest, it makes your mid-screen mix-up very threatening, even without meter.
Okay. But yeah, our advice about getting in with GA is you have to learn how to walk, and you have to learn how to air dash, and then you have to learn how to roll, and you have to learn every piece of movement. That's her design intent. That's how you're supposed to get in. She doesn't have any kind of like teleport or anything like that that'll just get you in jail for free. It's a matter of you have to learn how to move.
Yeah, you have to roll 3 times in a row to get into jail with her.
Let's see here. Any other questions that we should take? Let's see. Other than bursting, how can you escape from Chiayu when they have the personas attacking you from behind while they attack from the front?
Consider dragon punches. It's certainly not necessarily safe. Unlike the knockdown setup, there are going to be gaps you can dragon punch there.
Mm-hmm.
You can also consider backdashing to be knocked into the air in a very awkward way that might let you air tech out. I've definitely done this before, where I backdash to intentionally get hit and then air tech out. I don't know if that'll help you. It might. The one thing to consider is if it's an airtight block string, they hit you low, you will just be hit standard. You can also try to roll. If you have a 3-frame gap, your roll will be successful. You'll get out of the sandwich. You might get hit for it, but you'll at least be out.
And I think that pretty much well covers it. Should we make this last question, guys?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So the last question is, I've been following the scene for a while, but Persona is the first game I'm taking seriously. Any tips for a beginner U player?
Sure. When you feel a matchup is about zoning of your normals, find a tip of your 5B range. It is negative, but you can cancel it into other specials. And then based on the matchup, either the person can punish it if you continue to a different kind of... Like, for example, 5B cancel to 5C, I believe does not have a gap. But if they have long-range normals like Mitsu, they can punish your Persona and possibly you as well. You can toss a Fireball afterwards. You don't have mix-up options, but you have things that follow around with that. Anyway, use 5B as a zoning tool. React really well 2B against jumpers. Learn your mix-up options off a sweep. If you don't know your combos, end on sweep, call your Persona with 5D. And DP well, I guess, is basic tips.
That's a pretty good basic list. Make sure you've learned your high-low mix-up, especially with the Persona, like the sweep 5D and then the empty jump low or overhead or air dash overhead. That's a really important mix-up to learn. Your air poke's actually really good too. And make sure that you learn how to mix up high-low or frame trap grab or cross-up. Those are going to be your 3 primary mix-ups. And knowing how to do all this well will be very important.
And for Justin, one last thing. If you are really coming on the ground floor, don't go crazy, learn combos or anything like that. Concentrate on the following things. On blocking, on moving around, and finding where your openings are. So, just use A and B, or maybe, a couple of Ds or something like that. Don't try and get fancy. Just concentrate on the absolute fundamentals. Concentrate on being able to block. Concentrate on being able to recognize where it is safe to start jabbing. And don't be afraid to hit A for your first, couple of weeks. It's something that I've been saying since the beginning of this podcast. It's something that I'll keep saying. Work on your fundamentals. It is much more important that you learn how to capitalize on openings than it is for you to capitalize on them in an optimal fashion. As Narukami, your standard A string will do something like 2200 or so. and if you land about 5 of those solidly, then you'll win the match. It doesn't matter that you won't drop combos to get frustrated. You just need to be able to make sure that you land that first A, and that's the first skill everyone needs to learn. Learning your openings, learning your gaps, and working on your defense. So,
Sounds pretty good.
Kubo, was that about it for you?
Yeah, that should be it for now.
Okay. So, looks like we're about done unless you guys want to answer Kyobi's question about now.
I have to talk to Kyobi in private, I suppose, because we should end the podcast fairly soon. I have to leave, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so let's run the flyers. So we have a couple of events coming up.
Okay.
We have, let's see, there's TNT, which is now featuring Persona 4 as one of its featured games.
Yep.
There's also Capital Fight District coming up, guys.
There we go.
And Koopa, you know a lot more about it. You can take care of that.
Sure. On August 26th, that's a Sunday, at 12 p.m. PST, if you're attending this venue, it is at 501 Arden Way, Sacramento, California. That's when signups begin. The stream will begin at 2 p.m. PST on twitch.tv/FunSKO. The tournaments are Mortal Kombat 9, Persona 4 Arena, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition 2012, Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Melee, and Ultimate Marvel's Capcom 3. Players in attendance will be myself, K-Beast, That's a Bro, Hi, I'm Nasty, X-Ray, Mine is probably coming, I think Quest is as well, possibly Hanzo Gonzo if you can find yourself a ride. So a bunch of famous players will be at the venue, and hopefully you'll be watching the stream. If you attend and play Persona 4 Arena, there's a $100 bonus pot given to first place. And there's also a Persona 4 Arena 5-on-5, Davis vs. Sacramento. So I hope you watch this stream. The next event that is pretty important is Super NorCal Install, which is pretty much the, I want to say like the NorCal major for anime games. But we'll have BlazBlue Extend there, Persona 4 Arena, Skullgirls and King of Fighters 13. And the stream will begin at 2 p.m. PST on the same stream you're watching. The venue is Game Center, a Northern California arcade at 47 South B Street, San Mateo, California, 94402. And players in attendance will be myself, Dasabro, Pacific Northwest is coming down, SoCal is coming up, and maybe we'll have some people coming out of state as well. I hope you tune in, this is pretty big. I'm going to try to get it on the front page of Twitch. I got to contact Fishsticks about that first. And the very last flyer I want to show is the Brave Fencer Musashi Challenge Run.
Yeah.
Still, I love this so much. All right, so this stream was supposed to happen about a year ago, and it's been held up until now. So on August 23rd and 25th, again at 2 p.m. PST, on the same stream you're watching, Dasabro and myself are gonna do Brave Fencer Musashi for the Sony PlayStation 1 using.
We're gonna play the hell out of it.
Play the hell of it, exactly. We're gonna only eat bread. We can't drink water. We can't eat cheese. We can't do whatever BS health items there are in Brave Fencer Musashi.
And just to clarify, that's within the game. Those are like health items within the game. We're trying to keep it very limited to make it more challenging, more difficult.
Exactly. And we're allowing antidotes because we don't want to die off of poison. That's kind of just dumb. But,
Right.
Yeah, pretty much tune in on August 23rd and 25th for Koopa and Dasabro commentary. This is like the old days of FKO. If you've never seen hype for a non-fighting game stream, you'll see hype on these days, and I hope you do come out.
Okay, and actually C Cubed in the stream chat mentioned that there is going to be an event in Texas coming up soon.
Oh.
For all of you guys who are Texan, just like Jordal. And what you will be able to do is you'll be able to go, let's see here, it's UCC. It starts on August 31st,
Okay.
goes until September 2nd,
All right.
and it is their start at getting a major in Texas.
That's awesome. I'll be sure to look at that if I can.
Yeah, so C Cubed, if you want to get us to promote that a little bit more, send Koopa a flyer. You can contact him on Twitter at @VaseKoopa, and you can promote your event a little bit over here.
All right. Let me see. Like every podcast, I want to do one last thing before we call it a day.
And that's for all the viewers?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Of course.
Never. That's Troll Acid, bro.
It's just this sweet.
Alright, that's it.
Right now, but I'm sure I'm getting trolled.
Oh, no.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. This has been myself, Bro.
He's just covering you in GAs. Don't worry about it. It's Tsubas's dream. It's true.
My partner,
Covered up by GAs.
and my partner, Koopa. We've been doing the One More podcast. Thank you, guys. I'm
Alright.
getting out of here.
I'll see you later, Death Bro.
Alright, good night, everybody. See you next week.
Good night.